Hello, 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 and welcome to Remnant Mentality Ministries. My name is Marie Rogers, and once again, I'd like to give God a thanks for another opportunity to be before you today. So today we're going to talk about listening and obedience. Just obeying whatever you hear from God. We're going to come out of two scriptures. It's going to be Proverbs 5 and 7, and it says, "So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray away from what I'm about to say." But we can't just listen. We also have to take action. So in James 1 through 22 through 24 says, and I'm going to read it. It's going to be out of the NLT. "But don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you're only fooling yourself. If you listen to the word and don't obey, it's like glancing at your face in a mirror. You see yourself and you just walk away and you forgot what it looked like. So it's important that we listen and obey. We're going to see, I'm going to tell a story and it's going to tie them both together, where these scriptures come in. So it's not my story. It's not a personal story. It's not even from someone I know, but I was going through some things and I read this story and it immediately made me think, I want to tell this story because it was encouraging. It was uplifting. So it's about a young man who was at Bible study. And when he got to Bible study, he asked the pastor if God still spoke to us, to people. So they have and it doesn't say if that question was asked or answered in the Bible study itself. But they conclude the Bible study, and he and some friends go out for coffee and pie, and they're talking about the message. And the message was listening and obeying. So while they're out, they talk about it. Each of the men have a different story. All of them say something different happens to them. So he starts to wonder, and the night's getting kind of late. He gets in his car to go home. He gets in, and before he takes off, he kind of takes a deep breath, right? And he says, "God, do you still speak to people?" And he says, "If so, I'll listen and I'll obey." Pretty simple, right? We ask God a question, he answers, we say we're going to do. So the young man starts to start driving. But then he gets a feeling to go get a gallon of milk. Of all things, a gallon of milk comes on his mind to get. So he asked God, he said, "God, is that you?" He doesn't have a reply. So he just starts driving because he thought he was going to get an answer right then. So he starts driving. He gets this feeling again. "Okay, God, if that's you, I'll go get the gallon of milk. I can at least be obedient. I just told you I was going to listen and I was going to obey." So he gets the gallon of milk. And then he gets back in his car and he's driving on his way home. He gets another feeling, this jolt that tells him, "Go down the street, turn down the street." But he doesn't. He keeps going because he's just like, "Oh, I'm not sure what that is." But as he's driving, this feeling comes on him again. So he makes a quick turn onto the street, 7th Street, and it's a commercial area. It's pretty dark out there. There's some abandoned buildings, some buildings that are boarded, and then there's houses, but it's all dark. So it's almost like either there's people that's living there and they're all asleep, or no one's living there. He knew that it wasn't in the greatest of neighborhood. It wasn't in a bad neighborhood either. So it was in between. But as he goes down the street, the voice tells him to park and to go over to his house across the street to deliver this milk. So now he's really like, wow, it's a dark area. God, are you sure this is what you want me to do? It's kind of dark. I don't think anybody's home. Well, he gets this feeling, and yeah, I know I'm going to do it. I listen and I'm going to obey. So before he gets out of his car, he kind of thinks again and said, "Lord, you sure? I mean, what if they're asleep? What if they get mad? What if I look stupid by doing this?" So he says, I'm gonna do it. So he grabs the milk, opens the door, and he's headed up to the door. But he says, "God, I'm gonna give him the milk, but if nobody answers, I'm out of here," pretty much. So he gets the door, rings the doorbell. There's a voice that he hears. It's a man that basically is asking, "What do you want? Who are you?" So he's a little nervous, but he's standing still. The door opens before he gets a chance to turn away and go back to his car. And the man is asking again, "What do you want?" He thrusts the gallon of milk to him, and he says, "I bought this for you." So the guy starts screaming. The guy that opened the door starts screaming, and he runs down this hallway. And then a lady comes behind him, and she has the milk, and she's headed towards the kitchen. And the man has a baby. He's holding a crying baby. But he says to the young man, "Thank you. We've been praying. We had a lot of big bills due this month, and we didn't have money for milk. And we were asking God to show us a way, give us milk for our baby." And the lady that's off in the kitchen hears it, and she says, "I prayed for an angel." And she asked the guy, "Are you my angel?" The young man digs in his pocket for every piece of change, every dollar that he has. He hands it over to the man, and he walks away. He's starting to walk to his car because that's what he was there for. That's what he was told to do. So as he's walking to his car, he starts crying, and he says, "God listens. He still speaks to us." Now, the story was pretty interesting. Like I said, it's not my story, but I thought it was interesting because a couple different things came out of it. One, we talked about listening, like Proverbs 5:7 says, we have to listen. And this is exactly what he did. And sometimes it's not going to come in the tone that we think. The first thing that he thought, remember when he wanted to go get milk, or when he was told to get milk, he had that feeling. He wasn't sure where it came from, so he had to ask again. And he didn't hear anything, but he said he was going to obey, so he did it. So sometimes we may not hear that voice. Sometimes it's going to be another feeling, another jolt that we may get, and that's God. And we have to be able to discern that. But not only did he listen, because we read in James 1, 22 and 24, it's great that you listen, but now we have to do something with it. We have to act on it. We have to obey. And this is what he did. Every time he thought about, I'm not sure if I want to do that, he went ahead and he decided to obey, because this is what he told God he was going to do. He said he was going to obey. He did it. So it's important that we listen and that we obey. Now, here's the next thing from this story. The young man he wasn't the one doing the praying. He just simply asked God if he still listened. God said yes. Those prayers were heard, and that angel was sent over to that couple to give him the milk. So that's why it's important. Sometimes things, you may not want something, or you may not be in a need, or you may not feel that whatever someone is saying to you isn't important, but it may be for someone else. And that's what we have to remember. In this story here, that young man, had he been disobedient, not gotten the milk, not went over to the house to deliver the milk, would that couple have gotten milk any other way? Or was this the angel that God sent for him? That was his particular assignment, was to get them the milk. So this story also, for me, I believe it probably reconfirmed both of their commitments to God. One, for the young man, because he said, God still speaks to us. And for that couple, they had their prayers answered. So now they won't be so afraid to maybe go and ask for prayer. Maybe they won't wait to the very last minute, because they know if we pray, God's listening. And that's what we have to do. Now, the one piece that I missed out from this story is the young man thought about, when he heard that voice, when he got in the car, he asked God if he still answered prayers or if he still spoke to people. The one part that I left out, when he started to sway away and not go get the milk, he thought about Samuel. You can read about the story of Samuel and him not being able to understand or be able to hear God's voice. In 1 Samuel, it's going to be, let's see, chapter 3, verses 7 through 11. You can read about that story. I hope this message was encouraging to you. Like I said, for me, I read it and immediately, this is not what I had intended on talking about. It was going to be about listening, but I immediately, after reading it, I said, it's inspiring to me to know that God, one, is still speaking to us. But like I said, each of us can be an angel if God gives you that assignment, to just be prepared to go and act on it, not just listen. And if we tell God we're going to do something, then we need to make sure we do it. Just like we expect, if someone else tells us that we're going to do something, we expect it from them as well. So like I said, I hope this message was encouraging. Share the messages, not just from today, all the messages from this platform, Remnant Mentality Ministries. The messages are important, they're uplifting and they're encouraging. And someone else, at that moment that they read it, that they hear it, it may change their lives. We're on all social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So visit one of the sites, read the messages, look at the message. If you like it, hit the like button. If you comment, the comment helps us. It helps us to grow, it gives us that feedback. And then share and subscribe. By you subscribing, you help them grow the ministry. Doesn't cost anything. But again, we get a daily word, a daily message every day that's coming from someone from the ministry. So we ask that you just share if you like it. And again, it may not help you, but it may help someone else. So if there's nothing else, again, my name is Marie Rogers with Remnant Mentality Ministries. Until next time, have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you.